Welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat, founder of Online Seller UK, and your host for today. And we've been doing this sort of series of podcasts to help you connect with different suppliers and industry leaders. And today I've got Nick, who is a partnership manager at hellotax and founder of Extreme Power Bands. So we'll be talking about expansion through partnerships in e-commerce space. Nick, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Prabhat. Thank for having for the second time. Free is my favorite number, so we should have free in 1 year. But thanks for having me again.
Excellent, Nick. So no, you've been a partner for us for some time, and you've helped us in a lot of ways. So I do appreciate all the things you've done for us. So today we are going to talk about expansion. So before we talk on that, so Nick, it's good for us to hear about what you do as a business and introduce yourself. I'll let you do it.
Sure. So, like Prabhat said, I'm Nick Penev. I'm the founder of Extreme Power Brands, which is a partnership with a service agency. And I also run the partnerships for hellotax, which is my first client, my first partner, and they're the company who gave me the idea to do the partnership agency. So the long story short is I used to be an e-commerce seller for 10 years. I was selling private label supplements across Europe for 10 years, and I sold my business 2 years ago. And when I sold my business, I was a client of hellotax. So I was doing the VAT compliance for them. And long story short, the founders are friends of mine, they're ex-Amazon sellers, and they told me, Nick, you've been building partnerships and affiliate networks for your own brands. Can you do that for hellotax since you're selling your company? I said, okay, man, that's a great idea. I did that for hellotax, and I started doing that for them. And then I have this approach. If I meet somebody, a company, a partner, anyone, if we cannot help them out with, let's say, the VAT, which is what hellotax provides for e-commerce sellers, I must have a partner who can help with the rest. And I said, okay, I'm going to build a partner network. I'm going to connect people. So when you come to me, you will be covered with everything that you might need. And not only Europe, but globally. And I started doing that, and I started connecting people like that. And then a few of my partners told me, okay, Nick, can you do what you're doing for hellotax for us? And I said, you know what? You guys just gave me an idea. And I said, I'm going to set up a partnership agency. So the commercial part of my business is I connect companies in the space, and companies who are clients, I teach them and advise them how to work with partners, because meeting people doesn't guarantee anything. You need to work with those guys. So we have SOPs, templates, how to follow up with partners, how to create action plans, how to do webinars, how to do email swaps, how to do social swaps, how to do cross-selling, simply how to make money from partnership. As simple as that. And that's what we do right now. And hellotax, since they're my first client partner, we help companies to expand in Europe. And of course, we have partners who help for everything, because hellotax just covers VAT. And I think that's the quickest introduction that they can do for me, at least for the last 12 years.
Yeah, excellent. So the topic for today, as we were talking earlier, is expansion through partnerships in e-commerce space. So do you want to talk about, for brands and companies, what sort of partnership that can be there?
Okay, I'll give an exact example. Let's say any company who would like to expand to any market, and let's take Europe as an example, they need to cover 5 or 6 so-called blockers before they start selling there. The first and the most important is compliance. Some companies, some brands, they need to comply with some legislations or stuff like that, like the plastic so-called wall in France, in Germany. So you need to check on that. If you don't do that, you might get suspended, you might have issues. So you need to have a compliance partner. So we have few of those who can help you with that in Europe and globally. The second thing is VAT in Europe, sales tax in the USA. So if you don't have a VAT provider, Amazon is not going to let you sell. You can try that on Shopify, but if you get in trouble, you get penalized and you need to backdate it. So don't try that. So we need to check if you need compliance. You need to check if you need to register the VAT. You can do on one or multiple markets based on what you're doing, but just keep it simple. To sell in Europe, you just need one VAT, either in the UK or in Germany. That's it. And you can start selling to the whole European Union. The third one, which is important, of course, is customs, because if you're a non-EU company, you need to import your goods to Europe. So you need a customs partner. So we have that as well. Then, of course, you need a logistics partner. If you're not using Amazon FBA, you need a 3PL who can actually fulfill your order. So we have those as well. And the last but not the least, and actually this is probably one of the most important things that people are not doing right, is translation and localization. And because I'll give an example, like in the UK, you guys say training. In the USA, they say practice. So if you are selling like a product and you write training and they're listing in the USA, people are saying, okay, who are these guys? They're British. I'm not going to buy their product, and vice versa, And this is even for English speakers, there's always localization, there's always specifics, and you need that. So just to summarize, like product compliance, you might not need that, but you must check that. VAT or sales tax for the USA, then customs and logistics partners, and the last is translations, and these are the 5 things that you need to do right before you start doing with the PPC and all the other stuff to actually grow your brand. But these are very important, because if you don't do your translation properly, you might have the best product, the best price. Germans are not going to buy that, if it's not done their way, and many other markets. And I'm sure you know that, but I'm mentioning that because even Amazon, when they started Amazon Sweden last year, they used some translation to build by Amazon, and it was nightmare. All the Swedish guys were saying, okay, what is this? This word is not right, this is not right. So even Amazon makes such mistakes. So don't do like Amazon in Sweden. Find the localized, translation agency, and there is plenty. There aren't plenty, but there are actually few, and I know few of them which are good. And this is all they do for e-commerce companies. So.
And you've rightly said, finding that partner for each of the steps, like you said, about compliance and VAT is important. So they all come with a cost. They all come with a cost to some extent, but also funding is another aspect of growing the brand. So in terms of funding side, where do we actually see company funding all the expansion? Is it from the existing sales in the market, or is there any other ways of increasing the funding to expand? What's your thought?
Yeah, funding is good, but before you actually do the first 5 steps that I mentioned, you don't need funding, because obviously the funding guys are not going to provide you funding if you don't have a certain history. And there's like asset-based funding, there's like funding based on your revenue. They're actually funding who don't actually get anything back unless you're profitable. But all these guys have one thing in common, whenever they provide you funding, they check your history.
Yeah.
And obviously, because they would like to if they provide you funding, they expect to make some money back on that. And obviously, if you have not been set up properly, it's less likely that they're going to provide you funding. And I know that because I spoke with one of these funding partners this weekend. They told me, we used to give out funding to obviously almost entry-level sellers. Right now, we've actually increased I think it was like a minimum of like 10K revenue per month that they need, because obviously they need to justify the investment. But this is very important, especially when you're growing these brands. But I think funding is more important for companies who are already established in one market, let's say the USA, Europe, or let's say one market in Europe, and then they start expanding to other markets, because in this case they can easily get funding because they have a history, and they can use the funding to obviously buy more stock, because they would need that since you're expanding to new market, and fund the rest of the expenses that they have, for, let's say, setting up like VAT in multiple markets, setting up like another provider or whatever. But that definitely helps. But first, like I said, don't just start with the funding, because many of these companies are not going to provide it right away.
Of course. And you rightly touched based on getting some sort of a level of sales in the home market. So be you are in the US, so be in the UK, or so be in the specific European destination. So Do you think then some sellers are trying to expand or testing the expanse a bit earlier than where they are? So, say for instance, if you are not reaching a certain threshold of sales, do you think it's not to expand into other countries? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you have asked me about that probably 3 months ago, I would say yes. You need to reach a certain level, but I had few panels recently with the partner, which is called Frisbee. They do global expansion,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what we discussed in the panel. That let's say I'll give an example. Let's say you're selling a product in the USA,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not doing great, but there is like some product research tools like Zonguru and other companies who can actually you can actually check your competition in Europe and in other
Mm-hmm.
Amazon markets, for example, and you can see that what you're trying to do in the USA is not going to happen because the competition is fierce.
Yeah.
But you have an opportunity, let's say in France, in Australia, and some other markets which are not as competitive. So, to answer your question, I would have said that you need like 500,000 in sales if you're in USA or to go to Europe, but
Mm-hmm.
that's not totally right, because if you think about it, a lot of big companies just prefer to sell in the USA, UK,
Mm-hmm.
English speaking markets. They don't go to Europe because I mean it's Europe, a different language, which is a big mistake because now Europe has a 700 million population. 400 of those are actually over 18. So if you're not doing that, I mean you're crazy. And the good thing is that you have the research tools that you can actually see. They're not 100% accurate, of course, but you can see where you have where you have like competitors, what is the competition, and you can even see the initial investment that you would need to actually expand to those markets. So to answer the question, you can be even just starting and you can do that, because doing research is always good, even if you don't have a brand already.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm with you on this. Some products may not be successful in English-speaking country, whether it's the US or UK or Australia, but they can be successful in Germany, France, and Italy, and that's quite true. That's quite true.
Yeah,
And
and
also,
just to add something, sorry, that you just reminded me that. But the thing is, if you have a brand in the USA which
mhm,
is successful there,
mhm.
and if you're not selling in Europe, you're crazy. That's for sure, because US is the most competitive market. So if you're actually on top of your game there, and you're just not going to Europe because it's Europe. Then you need to obviously check yourself. You're missing a huge opportunity because it's
Yeah,
easier here
and
compared
then
to this.
also we got to highlight the fact that Amazon is not only the marketplace in Europe. It's in the US, yes, Amazon is dominant and all that sort of thing. But in Europe, country-wise, there is a separate marketplace which is more dominant than Amazon. We've got to look at that as well. Like, for example, Netherlands, we've got bol.com, and we've seen sellers selling much higher in bol.com than Amazon across Europe. Uh, so you work with a lot of European platforms as well. So is there any other platform you think that's not Amazon, of course, other than Amazon? Is there any other platform that you see that sellers are popular?
Yeah, recently now we're seeing a huge increase for Shopify, which is not like a marketplace, it's like a
Um,
platform. But we see the most demand for Shopify brands, and they're trying to turn themselves into like the next Amazon, because they just acquired, I think, Deliver was the name of the company. So they're trying to,
yeah,
I obviously do the FBA model. But besides those in Europe, we have like Cdiscount in France. They're the second
yeah.
biggest. So if you're selling in France, you must obviously go to Cdiscount as well. So if you're actually selling in Germany, there's like Zalando, Otto,
Hmm.
Kaufland. There is
Hmm.
plenty of, like you said, Bo as well. If
Hmm.
you're selling in Eastern Europe, there is a marketplace called EMAC,
Hmm.
and obviously they're more popular than Amazon. Like Poland, for example, Allegro. Allegro is actually more popular than Amazon in Poland, even though there is both of them. So it's always good to try different marketplaces, because for the exact same reasons that we mentioned earlier for the
Hmm.
Amazon sellers, because
Yeah.
if people are not selling there, it doesn't mean that it doesn't work. It's
Hmm.
because people sometimes don't like to make changes. Like there's a saying, if it works, don't fix it. So obviously some people are just scared that they'll fail, which is not good thing because no, you're just missing the opportunity. So and the other good thing about partnership is that there is now multiple companies in Europe which are specializing in omni-channel expansion. So I know several of those are partners of mine. So if you're new to the other marketplace, there is companies who have been doing that for other sellers already, so they know how to work, they know the specifics of each market, and of course they can help you out to do that and to test the waters in those locations.
Yeah, excellent. So I think it's good to have this conversation, an open conversation about helping sellers to expand in other countries. So if somebody is to find you, Nick, so where is the best place to find you? Your email address? Any other ways to connect you?
LinkedIn is the best place to find because I do a lot of stuff with partners. We actually do a lot of events, webinars. We highlight partners and their services. So probably LinkedIn is the best place. And I'm gonna send Prabhat, obviously the information. He can share that with you. He's a partner, so you guys we're gonna get a discount. If you wanna get VAT, we're giving away always free VAT registration whenever I speak with partners. So just get in touch with me. Tell us that you actually watched the podcast, and we're gonna get a free VAT registration, which would help you to make a decision to move to Europe. So, and if you're a service provider, and if you want to do partnerships, get in touch with me, and we can talk partnerships then as well.
Excellent, Nick. Nice talking to you, Nick. I'll speak to you soon. All the best.
Okay, me too.
All the best. Bye. Bye.